What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe.
What leverage, Nick, does Alvin Kamara and his camp maybe think that they have in negotiating a new contract? Because we laid out the numbers, and look, I think that the offense didn't do him any favors. The offensive line didn't do him any favors, but 3.9 yards per carry. Even though he had a ton of catches, it wasn't for big yardage. Like, where right now do they think that they can get maybe a new deal done?
So I would say, just on the 3.9, I agree. It was like 3.74, 3.9 the last 3 years. I think obviously there's an element of the offense there. Like, they weren't building a good offense. They didn't block great last year. On outside zone runs, I think, man, I just did a story on it and I'm going to forget the numbers, but his yards before first contact, it was really low. It was like around a yard, which means like your first contact's typically like a defensive lineman.
Right.
So breaking a tackle is going to be a little bit harder. You look at McCaffrey, his yards before first contact were like in the twos. It was almost a yard higher, maybe even a yard plus higher. Now, maybe like you're getting out faster and you're making better cuts and you're doing things to help that, but also it's just being blocked and built a little bit better. So I think just like having a better built offense and blocking a little bit better, it probably takes that 3.9 up to, I don't know, probably 4.3 just on its own. I think you see Alvin's leg drive is still there. Like, you look at Zeke Elliott, like you can kind of see like that deteriorating. Like, Alvin doesn't quite look that way to me. Like, there were times last year where I thought it looked like he was just trying, like he was running hard as hell at times last year. Like, there were games where it was like, damn, Alvin was pissed off all week in the locker room, complaining about the coaching, and then he's out there on Sunday just running incredibly hard. And like, that stuff still stood out to me. I think it's a tough spot for leverage, though. Like, he's 29. The numbers have been down 3 years in a row. Like, there's just a thing when running backs hit 30 that it's just kind of that's the number where you start to get worried a little bit. And like, I think it's definitely possible that Alvin's a bit of an outlier on that. Like, I expect him to push that bar back a little bit, but you got to be realistic about it. And I think the other thing that hurt him is that like McCaffrey signs this deal that's worth $19 million per year. And then like Joe Mixon signed one that was like $9.75 million per year. So if you're Alvin, like, you want to be above Mixon for sure. That's the floor. You want to try to get as close to McCaffrey as possible. Your average per year is 15 million. In reality, it's 11.8 because that last year is completely fake.
Yeah.
I think before the McCaffrey deal, there's probably a reality where they were probably willing to do like, just add another year on it, something like that. Like, just keep it going. But then McCaffrey signs this deal and now the market's just out of whack. So I have no idea where this thing settles at. But Alvin's leverage here, to answer the question, I think would just be the fact that they want to run this offense. Things are hot. If you take him out, like, what are you going to do? But the reality to make that happen would be a willingness to hold out into the season. And is he actually willing to do that? And that's the only way you get the leverage. Otherwise, the leverage is kind of all on the Saints side. Like, he's got to play. And if he wants another contract, he has to play well. So, like, I don't know where this one goes, but like, I will say this, like, Alvin's somebody, and I'm not saying that like he doesn't like football or I'm not suggesting any of that. Like, I think he loves football. I think he loves being great at it. I think he works incredibly hard. But he's also a person to me that like I feel like just he could walk away based on principle one day, or just, hey, like, I'm not going to risk my body for this at this price. Like, this is what it's worth for me. Like, I think there actually would be a willingness to just stop one day. Like, I could see him finding like an intellectual pursuit, like that just stimulates him more, and like off he goes. Like, just one day, like, I just wouldn't be shocked is what I'm saying. Is like, he's smarter than a lot of people, like anybody. Like, he's one of the smartest people I've ever met in my whole entire life. And I just think he understands like the risk calculation, the value point of that. And like, I think it probably does have to hit. So like, I would not be shocked if he was someone that was willing to take something into a season. I have not heard that he's going to do that. Him showing up for 2 days of minicamp before leaving tells me that he doesn't want to do that. It kind of says that like, hey, he wants to play football, knowing the offense is important to him. All this stuff is like at the forefront, but like, I don't know. I'm just saying, I'm rambling here. I have no idea how this is going to end up, because like all the people involved, like Mickey's kind of, shrewd in how he does things. I think Alvin's shrewd in how he does things. I don't know where that middle ground is going to come in.
So here are your numbers that you were looking for. So last year, It was 1.4 yards for contact. In 22 is 1.3, only 0.9 in 2021. And when Kamara was at his best in 17 and 20, it was at 2 yards and 2.2 yards. And even last
and they
year,
were blocking better.
Yeah, if you look at outside zone, 1 yard before contact for Kamara last year. McCaffrey, 2.1. And all of a sudden, that additional yard, you're talking about a 3.9 going to a 4.9, and all of a sudden now you're one of the best backs in the league. So, like, again, they need to put him. Again, Pete Carmichael sucked. And I feel bad because, like we said, we gave some flowers to Carmichael at the end about everything he did for the Saints over 18 years, but he had fallen so far behind that everybody on that offense needs to be put in better positions, and they're going to be. And I think the Saints are going to be kind of frisky, dude. I'm feeling a little bit right now, dude. We'll see. It's that time of year. But I guess here's my deal. Am I maybe being a bit tongue-in-cheek and rubber banding too hard to the positive? You could say that. But I would also argue that objectively, everybody's kind of rubber banded too hard to the negative in terms of acting like this team is just a complete dumpster fire and absolute trash when objectively that is not true either.
Yeah, it's average. It's been average for 2 years. Dennis Allen, just isolate everything before the Saints. The last 2 years, he has been an average coach, and average is a tough place to be, though. Average doesn't give you like this false sense of extreme hope. Like if you're a bad team and you're drafting early, like that pick is gonna save everything. It's exciting. Like you see a path to getting better quickly, even though most teams don't get better quickly. Like it's easier to get to 10 and 11 wins from 9 than it is 3. But it's just when you're bad, like you can dream, and when you're good, you're good, and when you're in the middle, it's just you're kind of stuck in the middle and you don't really see the way out. But yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's probably a little bit too negative. Like not everything is the worst thing in the world. Like the coach has been average. The quarterback was about average. Like everything was about average. But yeah, average is boring. But look, I'll say this, like, I'm glad that the fans are mad and angry and negative, because like, at least that means everybody's still locked in and they care. Like nobody's apathetic yet. I think when you see like that apathy, that's when it's a point of concern, I think, for the organization as a whole. But yeah, I mean, look, I think there's a path. Like things break the right way. Like you could be a decent team. The division still stinks. I think Atlanta's defense is going to be terrible. Like who do they have? They got a cornerback and they got a safety and maybe David Onyemata. Like I don't know. Caden Ellis kind of had a down year there. Like they don't have a very good defense. I don't expect the Panthers to be very good. Tampa just lost the coach that made Geno good. After he left and went to Tampa, Geno went kind of back to average. Baker got good. What happens to him without Canales? I guess the flip side of that is maybe Bryce Young gets that elevation and Carolina's a little better, but I don't think Carolina's a good team. So yeah, I mean, I think there's reasons for, I expect them to win 9 games. Like that's kind of where I'm at. I think they can get there, and there's always a variance. You get lucky off a 9, you could exceed it. You have bad luck off a 9, like you could fall below it. But I think 9's kind of like a good barometer for this team.
Hey, real quick, Nick, last one. Juwan Johnson out with an injury. We think he's going to be back for the season, but T-Bob laid it out right before you came on. The tight end room, it does look kind of thin. You have Foster Moreau there because Taysom feels like he's going to have maybe a different role within this new offense. I mean, we've kind of already seen him line up in multiple spots. What does the tight end position look like for the Saints, and what's the latest maybe with Johnson?
Yeah, it looks sketchy. I mean, it would be Foster, Dallin Holker, Michael Jacobson. I don't know. Off of that, the Juwan situation. Yeah, he has a broken foot. It's hopeful for the start of the season, but that's something not far out, and then one little thing goes wrong, and then maybe it carries into the season, or maybe one little thing goes wrong and the rehab starts a little bit later, and he's on the field, but he isn't ready to play by week 1. I think it's a tough position. One thing though that I think, it would be good if they could add someone there. I just don't know who you add. You look at like every top available tight end list, and like Jimmy Graham's like the best available tight end. Like if you're bringing somebody in, I think you need more than 6 catches. I don't think he's a 600 snap solution. He's like a 55 snap solution. Right. And sure, like I think he could probably still help in some degree, but not to the point where you're covering up for Juwan. This offense though, like Houston, Miami, San Fran, everybody that kind of runs a branch off of it. that's the bottom third of the league in terms of 12 personnel usage. So maybe Foster just plays more snaps. Saints were top 7 last year in 12 personnel usage. So I think that's going to kind of flip on its head a little bit. But I expect more from Foster this year. I think Holker could be a good player. He's a little undersized, but maybe he's someone, if he gets enough snaps, he's a 15, 16, 20 catch guy or something like that. But Juwan being good in this offense, I think is kind of where they reach that next level. But even without this injury, though, like, we could sit here and you guys could say Foster's going to have 350 yards this year. You could have told me 700, and I would have believed either end of that. Like, I just don't really know what to expect from Juwan this season.
Black and gold to the Super Bowl. Crank it up, guys. We are back. No, not quite, but I'm telling you, I really am feeling a bit bullish. neworleans.football is the site. Nick, Mike Triplett, the whole team does really good work over there. Go sign up today. Nick, thank you so much, my friend.
Yeah, guys, take it easy.
Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the two guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.